Now, moving into our next story, if you haven't already hit the like and subscribe button, please do so now. It does support the show. We got $3.5 billion spent on diversity, equity, inclusion programs in 2020 with no good evidence that they work. Shocker. Completely shocked, folks. Notify the newspapers. Head one, page one material here. Who could have thought, folks? This is just a waste of taxpayer dollars. I went on a freaking crazy rant yesterday with this $1.7 trillion omnibus package where some of this money in the millions and sometimes even billions is going to this type of stuff here. So diversity officer hires tripled in 2020 after the George Floyd's death, according to the Spectator, with over $3 billion, again, that's with a B, going towards diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI programs. Complete waste of money, folks. Just a complete waste of your taxpayer dollars. American companies paid out approximately $3.4 billion to firms for diversity training after the Summer of Love. Yet, according to a professor from Princeton University who is deeply invested in DEI programs, there has been no good evidence for what works or what doesn't work in diversity training. We've been saying this for a very, very long time. We've been saying this for an extremely long time. The data's been out there. Jordan B. Peterson has talked a lot about this, who is now with the Daily Wire, on if you give people a certain decision, they're going to go with that decision. And sometimes the decision will cross lines or won't cross lines depending on race and gender and all sorts of variables that are incorporated within their decision-making process. In an op-ed from the Washington Post, Betsy Levy Paluck, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, says there is no answer to the key questions surrounding the outcomes of DEI training initiatives. Which training is best? Is the training even a good idea? And does the training have negative effects? The problem is that the real answer to all three of these questions is we don't know, Paluck explains. We're treating a pandemic of discrimination and racial and religious resentment with untested drugs. I mean, you're also saying that there is a massive problem with discrimination and racial and religious resentment in the first place, when in reality, there's not. So we keep building this whole narrative from the progressive left that there's this massive situation going on, let's say racism, and this institutional racism is suppressing people of color from being successful in this country, which we've seen time and time again is false. But this is the narrative they're going to keep pushing, and because they come up with this whole narrative, this whole system of mythology, if you want to call it that, that we need to just tackle it with more money. It's not going to solve the problem that doesn't exist in the first place. The Princeton professor lays out possible measurements for DEI results that indeed questionable logic. For example, you can measure how much minority and female employees are heard in meetings by tracking speech and chat contributions with online meeting software, or track whether the training is followed by more hiring, promotion, and retention of underrepresented workers. You see how stupid this is? You see how ridiculous this is? No matter your opinion on these measurable outcomes, Paluck says her diversity trainings was cut short by an employer and she was unable to conclude her study with her suggested measurements. Probably wasn't going the direction you wanted, nor it could be the fact that, I don't know, maybe this employer thought it was a complete waste of time and a complete sham. So maybe that's why they ended it. But we can't say those types of things because then we're racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes, all this other stuff they want to throw at us. Despite Paluck saying that pay inequities are rampant, she is not the only beneficiary of DEI programs who has failed to ascertain any value from their implementation. Lily Zhang, a self-described Stanford trans alumnex, I can't even pronounce, is it alumnex? I don't even know. Diversity, equity, and inclusion strategist, recently wrote in a Harvard Business Review about a poorly kept secret. What was the secret, folks? The efficacy of a highly touted programs is highly questionable. Oh man, what a secret. The actual efficacy of an uncomfortably large proportion of our flagship services is lower than many practitioners make it out to be, Zhang says while listing a number of DEI programs. Zhang claims that the bias training rarely changes actual behaviors. Shocker. Wow. Are they really just recognizing this? We've been talking about this for at least 2 years here on the Walt Brad Show. Like, remember when Starbucks happened? They're like, okay, everybody has to go to these diversity, equity, inclusion trainings. You know, we got to do all these trainings. Then they realize, oh, well, it doesn't actually work because the people that are in that room weren't the ones that actually caused the problem in the first place. So you get a lot of people in there that aren't racist, that aren't discriminating against anybody, sitting in these stupid meetings to get these stupid trainings. And obviously you're going to see a result of their behaviors not changing because their behavior didn't need to change in the first place because they didn't have the problem in the first place with these people that are sitting in the room. Now they're just realizing this. Now they're having an epiphany and they had to spend $3 billion on this stuff. And that hundreds of other programs rarely unambiguously achieved their goals. Shocker. It's so amazing. These people are just completely shocked about this stuff. Like, I can't believe it. You don't have to run the study to know the end result, by the way. Zhang too blames a lack of measurement standards, which claims to attempt to correct. Unbelievable. Few of us measure the effectiveness of our interventions, Zhang remarked. Oh yeah, so it's it's you stepping in and seeing how you disproportionately affect the results. Organizations kept asking us for and funding interventions that didn't work, the advocate added. So it's everybody else's fault. You see how this works? It's not the fault of the study because you got the result that you didn't want because your whole ideology, your whole worldview completely shatters based on a study that ended in a result that you didn't want based on a worldview that actually doesn't exist. So this is what they're going to blame on everybody else. Similar to what you saw with Hillary Clinton. It is everybody else's fault of why she lost. It possibly couldn't be her because in her worldview, she was the ideal candidate. In her worldview, everybody loved her. In her worldview, she was going to be president of the United States. So when that's completely shattered and you don't get the result that you wanted, it possibly couldn't be you. It had to be everybody else. Both DEI practitioners point to one-time cure-alls such as diversity training events or one-off programs that companies hope will fix any public relations or image problems they face, which tends not to. Again, this stuff has been studied, folks, for decades. So it doesn't come as a shock to me. Somebody that teaches statistics is not a shock to anybody that does anything in the social sciences, sociology, whatever it may be. You just have to listen to Jordan B. Peterson, who cites all this stuff and does a fabulous job of explaining it, including the data, going, look, yeah, this is just doesn't work. So let's just keep pushing something that doesn't work, wasting money. DEI advocates suggest medium or long-term programs, which would obviously benefit those who are to implement them. In January 2022, Globe Newswire estimated that DEI industry to grow to $15.4 billion with a compound annual growth of 12.5%. So this is the direction we're going as a country, even though we have old data to present that completely contradicts what these people are pushing here, but it's not going to stop them from pushing it and just wasting people's money. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.